Well, hi and welcome to the channel. My name is Jeff. I am a professional photographer in Seattle, and I just wanted to introduce myself and also to tell you a little bit about what you can expect on this channel. So I should say I had a dream of becoming a professional photographer back when I was probably a teenager. I think that's when I first got my first paying gigs. I was 17 years old. I got hired to photograph a football game. And I never knew at that moment that my life would kind of change. It was so exciting shooting that football game. I remember being out there, it was snowing, I had my telephoto lens, I was taking pictures, and then I went to this newspaper in my neighborhood. They had hired me to do it, and I developed the film and I made prints, and they wrote a check. They actually paid me for that job. I saved the check stub to this day. But that was when I was 17, and I moved from Boston, where I grew up, out here to Seattle, where I live now. And, you know, I started my photography life here as a professional with this dream of just doing more work and getting hired. But it wasn't really easy to get started. And I remember my first summer when I got here, I was at Glazer's, which is the camera store in town. And I met a photographer there at the front counter. I was buying some film and he was getting some film, and we started chatting. And his name is Jim Ball, and Jim said, "I have one piece of advice for you." He said, "If you're thinking of being a photographer, don't do it." And I thought he was joking, but he was really serious. And I think he'd had a lot of frustration trying to make a buck as a photographer. You know, he had a family, a wife, 2 kids. And I think raising that family and the unpredictability of working as a photographer and getting paid and all that stuff, I think he just felt it was overwhelming, maybe too much work, not enough fun. But anyways, he tried to talk me out of it, and it didn't work. I wound up, you know, showing my portfolio, going around town and setting up meetings and talking to people and shooting events, sometimes when I wasn't even hired to do it, but shooting the event, bringing some business cards with me and handing the cards to people, especially if people said that they were interested in seeing the pictures. And I just got one photo shoot at a time. I just did this stuff. I just went out there, I just pounded the pavement and met people and shot events and took pictures of people, and it worked out, just one job at a time, one step at a time. And so with this channel, I want to provide you with some ideas and some thoughts that might be useful, whether you're a photographer or just any kind of a creative person or an entrepreneur, and you're just trying to figure out how to make it all work. I thought, what better way to share what I know and what I've experienced and some of what works and also what doesn't work with the world than to just create some videos. So that's what I'm doing here. I think you'll find a mixture of professional, like photography ideas and advice and education, and then you'll also just find some of my more kind of creative exploits into showing you some of the pictures I do. One of my specialties is headshot photography. The other is medical photography and videography. And then I also take pictures of animals and donuts. And if you want to check out my work, I would highly recommend checking out the animal donut stuff first. It's fun, it's creative. I'm working with some, well, animals and donuts, and I bring them together and make really creative, fun compositions. And they're the photos that most people find the most exciting and interesting of what I do. And it's something that I do for fun, to keep creative, to keep on top of my photography game and challenge myself. One other thing I want to tell you about is in those early days, you know, I was in my 20s, I started investing, and I did it because I just realized that as I got older and got more skilled as a photographer, I didn't want to have to go like week to week, month to month, not knowing financially if there would be some money, you know, down the line in the future, if I ever wanted to buy a house, if I wanted to save up to, you know, just pay for anything, and just to become independent. So I started investing every month. I just took a small chunk of what I earned and I put it into some mutual funds. And I continued doing that, and eventually I added some stocks to the mix, and now I still invest in stocks, but I invest in ETFs as well. And I've actually written a couple of books about investing. And what I want to share with you guys is, if you're a creative person, if you're a photographer, and you're not investing somehow to have money in the future for some sense of independence, then you're going to be left later on in life kind of wondering what to do whenever, you got to kind of prepare for trouble. And maybe trouble never comes, but if it does, you don't want to be caught off guard. So I have a lot of friends who used to be photographers when I got to Seattle who've gone out of business or quit or whatever, or they're just not happy with it because I don't think they planned their lives as professional careers. They didn't really think ahead. But I feel as though I'm one of the only photographers that I know, probably the only one I know, who actually invests, finds it fascinating, learns a lot, and is able to, put something away into some investment accounts that will be there in the future if I need them. Anyways, in some of the videos that you'll see on my channel, you'll see some stuff about investing and about stocks, and you might wonder, well, how come this photographer has all these videos about stock market and ETFs? And it's just because it's something I just sort of did on the side with a little bit of money when I had it. Every month, though, it became a habit, and I just put it away, and it's just created this really nice part of my business where I'm able to have that self-sufficiency and not worry about the next job. In the early days, you never knew. Sometimes you get a job this week or this month, and then some months I'd have maybe 1 or 2 small jobs, and that was it. And so if you're really dependent on that money for your livelihood, it could be scary. But if you've put some money into a savings account just as like a backup, as a reserve, and if you put some money into stocks, then at least there's something there for you. And that's real helpful when you have stretches of months, or even like we've had recently, a year or 2, where your financial future is super uncertain. So anyways, this is a way I feel like creative people can think in a business-like sense and build a solid foundation under themselves. And so I want to share this stuff with you, and that's why I'm making these videos. And also the creative side is just like super important, obviously, right? But when you get hired to do jobs, no matter what kind of photography you're doing, I think there's a tendency to get used to what you're doing and just keep on shooting. And I think that Animal Donut, which I mentioned earlier to you, is a real good example of a project that's super creative, that keeps me thinking about new ways of shooting, new ways of lighting subjects. And most recently, I got a really cool new camera. I'd been shooting Canon cameras for like the last 20 years. And I switched over because I've been doing video jobs. I've been getting hired to shoot videos. And Sony offered just a much better camera for shooting videos. That's the A7 IV, which I'm shooting this video with. And so I got it. It actually arrived like on a Wednesday, and I used it to shoot a job the next day. And it's been an amazing camera because I can use it not only for videos, but I can also use it for stills. Anyways, all this to say that I just think it's important to keep things fun and to mix it up and to, try different kinds of equipment, but also try different kinds of photography, to do things that excite you, that interest you, and that help you to grow both as a business person, but also as a creative person. So thanks for visiting my channel. I hope you find some stuff here that you like, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.